Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. It's not fair that only he gets to make a wish. Some background. I have a twin brother. When my parents divorced, my dad wanted to split us down the middle in like possessions, but neither of us wanted that and my mom thought that was stupid because, well, kids aren't possessions. Due to that, my dad has always been nasty and stopped anything he could on his time. This meant no lessons, sleepovers, vacations, etc. He eventually remarried and had 3 other kids, so while they would get to do fun stuff, my brother and I still couldn't. Now into the main story. When we were about 9ish, my brother got diagnosed with leukemia. For a while it kept getting worse and my dad tried to interfere with his treatments because they had fell on his part of the custody agreement every now and then. My mom tried to take us both away too, but grudgingly my brother got his treatments. Sometimes, as very sick kids do, my family got approached by Make-A-Wish. My brother wanted nothing more than a family vacation to Disney for me, my mom, and himself. Well, with Make-A-Wish for trips like those, the non-custodial parent has to agree too. And this is where my dad got to be a witch. He was in the hallway of the hospital screaming at my mom while I was in the hospital room with my brother, but I could still hear them. It was a good while ago, so all quotes might not be exact. "There is no way in heck I'm agreeing to you 3 getting a free trip to Disney." Mom says I don't care if it was even just him. He might not be here much longer. "Well, it's not fair. If he gets to make a wish, he should be a good boy and give it to me and his other siblings. You and OP can stay home." He doesn't want to bring all of you guys. He specifically said he wants OP and I with him. "Well, if he wants to go, he better be a big boy and either bring everyone or make my kids get a wish to go." He has cancer, entitled dad. He is getting this because he is dying. I would 100 times over take him healthy over getting a trip to Disney. "He has his options. It's not fair for you 3 to go and disobey the custody agreement again. I have 3 kids and a wife at home, so you either find a way for them to go or none of the kids go." After that, my mom just came in and started bawling. We never did go to Disney, but my brother did get a phone call from John Cena. My brother also did end up making a recovery and has been in remission for 10 years this July. Edit. We still talk to him, just very low contact, and we remind him of this every time we have the chance. He found God and isn't as bad. I have plenty other stories of him being entitled. This is just the worst. In my book, this is definitely one of the worst kinds of a-hole. Completely selfish. I just couldn't imagine being so overwhelmingly selfish in a make-a-wish situation. This kid just wants to go to Disney with the people he actually feels cares about him. What surprises me is OP says they still have some form of contact with him. If somebody did me and my brother like that, I probably would cut them out easily. It takes a lot of strength for them to be able to still talk to him, in my opinion. My mother, who didn't raise me, thinks that she is entitled to a mother-in-law suite when I buy a home. Quick backstory. My mother didn't raise me and her parents did. She's always chosen guys and partying over me and my siblings. This is why Child Protective Services has taken all 3 of her kids away. Once I became an adult and joined the military, she would hit me up every couple of months asking me to give her different sums of money. She works, but it's a BS job. Eventually, I asked her why she doesn't get a real job, and her response, "Because I would be miserable doing that. Here I get to talk poop to people and have fun." That's all good if you can pay your bills, but she can't. She's done the same thing to my sister who was also in the military. Anyway, I talk to her roughly 3 or 4 times a year. Last week, she was asking me when I finish school where I will be moving to. I told her, I don't know. Her response was, "Well, wherever you go, you know I need a mother-in-law suite to stay at." My response was, "No, I don't." After that, I got bombarded with how my generation doesn't know anything about respect, and how I wasn't raised properly. Mind you, I was raised by the same people as her. Also, how my dad wanted an abortion, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. After all that, I said thanks, but I'm still never going to have an in-law suite for you. "Well, enjoy your freaking life," is the last thing she said before hanging up. I'm sure in a couple of months she'll call asking for something again. I'm telling you people, these relationships are so stressful, twisted, and just unfortunate to hear about. If you were in an OP situation, how would you handle it? Would you say something to her? Would you do something? Let me know what you would do in the comments below. Entitled mother ignores social distancing, so I force her to move back. So because Australia is coming slowly out of lockdown, people think right away that means life has gone back to normal. I, however, try to remain within the distancing laws and try not to do the wrong thing. Yes, I know I shouldn't be going out, but I did have to get some essential items other than the things I got below. So I was at the checkout in a store, buy some toys and a wool coat for my dog because he's a good boy and it's winter now. Now I'm standing in the marked spot for checkout when I see behind me a wild Karen, who surprisingly looked nothing like a Karen, walk right up behind me with her kid who was about 7. I turn around and say, "Excuse me, can you both please stand back? Social distancing." This sets her off and she goes, "How dare you tell me what to do? You're a child." I'm 21, but I do look young. "And should listen to what I say. Who do you freaking think you are talking out of term? Children should be seen and not freaking heard." Saying this whilst looking at her kid. I just turn around, roll my eyes, and sigh. I see the kid has his head down, looking embarrassed. Poor thing. An idea then pops into my head. If she won't step back when I ask her nicely, I'll make her step back. So I start purposely sniffling my nose very loudly and start coughing and wheezing like I'm carrying the plague. I then see the Karen scoff out a yuck and step back far enough to maintain the 1.5 meter distancing. I turn around and smugly look at her with a "you better step back, witch" look. She keeps her distance from me the entire time in line for checkout. There's almost a level of dissatisfaction that comes from it though, because I don't know if the Karen fully grasped the idea that it was just an act to convince them to step back, but in the end, you still got the desired result, which is, proper social distancing. Why won't you let my kids harass your pets? You're so selfish. Welcome to another episode of My Boyfriend's Cousin is an Entitled A-Hole. The events of this post happened in the spring of 2018. My boyfriend and I went to his parents' place to spend the weekend and we took our pets with us. My cat and 2 dogs and his cat and dog. We were just sitting around chatting, laughing with his parents and his sister when boyfriend's cousin came over unannounced, with her 3 kids in tow. This was the second or third time I was meeting this woman and the first time I was around her kids. Boyfriend's mom asked cousin if everything was okay. She just smiled and said, "Oh, cousin's husband will be out of town for the weekend, so I thought I'd come over here with the kids. They were getting bored." I suppose it didn't cross her mind to call first. Then she saw me and commented, "Oh, I see your new girlfriend is here too." Boyfriend's parents tried to introduce me to her kids. I'm guessing between the ages of 6 and 10 at the time, but they just ran off to watch TV. That's fine, no biggie. We all tried to make small talk even as the television was turned on at a deafening volume. My boyfriend's dad had to tell them to turn it down. After we had had lunch is when trouble started. My dogs and cat had been asleep when cousin and her kid came in, but now they were up and having a little snack and were noticed by the said kids. They instantly demanded that they be allowed to play with them. Now, my pets are not used to being around kids and I didn't want them to be harassed, so of course I said no. But apparently, these kids have never heard the word no before. The oldest one, a boy, kept trying to pick up my cat who jumped on my lap for protection. The middle one, a girl, tried to grab one of my dog's ear, and the youngest, a boy, tried to climb on my other dog's back. All of this happened within a span of no more than 5 seconds. I decided to raise my voice a little and told them to leave my pets alone. They looked shocked and the youngest one began to cry. The others, boyfriend, his parents, his sister, and cousin, were in the next room and came running when they heard the commotion. The kids, who was crying, went bawling to his mommy and told her how I was being mean. The other 2 said they wanted to play with the dogs and cat and I wouldn't let them. Cousin decided to get in my face and asked how dare I yell at her kids. I told her to calm down and that she needed to teach her kids some manners and how to interact with animals, and told her what her precious angels had been doing. She didn't think her kids' behavior was problematic because that's what kids do. She then proceeded to yell at me about how awful and rude I was being. This is when my boyfriend jumped in. He made her back off with a stern, "Do not raise your voice at her ever again." Cousin has always been a bit intimidated by my boyfriend and this shut her up. Boyfriend's parents and sister backed us up and told cousin she should teach her kids to be kind to animals. From the way they were talking, and as my boyfriend told me later on, this wasn't the first time cousin's kids had attacked someone's pet. My boyfriend's sister's dog at the time was really old, and his parents had gotten a puppy a few months earlier. The kids had been told, in no uncertain terms, that they were not to go near them. The rest of the weekend was a mix of fun and awkwardness. The awkwardness was due to my boyfriend's cousin, who made it a point to stare daggers at me and my pets. Thankfully, boyfriend's parents' house is enormous and our room and cousin and kids' rooms was on different floors, so we mostly just interacted with them during meals. Boyfriend's parents have a separate room for pets. It has several beds, toys, cat tree, etc. that family members' pets can use. During our stay, all of our cats and dogs would hang out in this room and cousin's kids were banned from it. Boyfriend's cousin complained several times that it was such a waste to use such a large room for pets, and that it should have been a kid's room so her spawn could play in it, even though her kids had infested the rest of the house. I remember thinking, what a Karen. Over the years, this woman has lived up to the name. When you have pets and they're not adjusted to playing with children or being around children, and you have children who are particularly not well adjusted to treating pets properly, you need to set that boundary because something can go wrong on either side, and the only real result is you'll probably end up without a pet afterwards. And of course, that's not a situation you want or should have happen. Your generation doesn't deserve sports. Okay, so a bit of backstory. I live in an apartment complex where there are 7 or 8 towers surrounding a central playground. I love cricket and so do most of the kids my age, so we play on the side of the little kids' playground. There are 2 playgrounds and the only open space is next to the little one. To those who aren't familiar with cricket, it's kinda like two-sided baseball. There are sticks pushed upright into the ground on either side, and from one side, a batsman plays one on the other, a bowler throws the ball. This story happened last year and I really wanted to share it. Okay, so me and my friends are aware that the place we play is near a kid's playground and they can get hurt, so we play way before the kids start to arrive. Recently, entitled mother moved into an apartment in the complex and has started changing other moms' mindset to just like hers. So basically, she has a following of entitled mothers behind her. Anyways, she has a full view of the kids' playground and where we play, and she takes advantage of that. Before she came, we used to play 2 or 3 hours before she came and left just when the other kids started to come play. Now, she stays at her balcony waiting for us and then takes her entitled kids to the park. One day, we were playing as we usually would and we heard footsteps. Lots of them. The following dialogue goes like this. Entitled mother takes the wickets/sticks from one side and legit breaks it. Me and my friends say, why did you do that? We were just playing. Your generation doesn't deserve to play sports. All you do is play and I'm sick of it. We played for around 2 hours every week since we were busy with schoolwork. My friend, who's been playing the longest out of all of us, says, but we play for a few hours every week. Oh, you're talking back now, aren't you? Now wait and see. Tells entitled kid to pull out her wobbly tooth. And I kid you not, she actually did it. She pulled out her tooth and blood was everywhere on the floor. Entitled mother calls her entitled mother gang, and after 5 minutes they arrive. She proceeds to tell them that we hit her hex spawn in the face and knocked her tooth out. The entitled mother group of course believe her and start shouting at all of us. A few bystanders who were watching this unfold from the beginning started laughing out of the pure ridiculousness of this entire situation. They kicked us out of the park for that day. The next day, we heard that entitled mother and entitled kid were kicked out of the complex forever. The entitled mother group became sane and now everyone's happy. If this story is true, that entitled mother had one heck of a weirdly, almost scary plan, because if nobody was there to witness it, then there would be a kid with blood and one less tooth that would probably go right along with entitled mother. And who knows how that could have gone. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is which of these stories was your personal favorite and why? Let me know which story and why in the comments below. And thank you all so very much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.